you have data. Now you know that you can move the data around with the help of, Phil said Mark and Jiyoung will help you, and they will. But Phil actually is like the expert on networking here on the campus, so he's a fabulous resource too, and he has these little boxes, these systems he can bring to your lab or your area and plug in and do all this network testing and see where problems might lie if you're just having trouble moving things around. But one of our sort of bread and butter services is to provide system administration. Of course, you pay for that system administration, but you know, that's okay. You would have to pay your grad student to do it, and one of the benefits that we bring to system administration is that, not that grad students aren't wonderful, they're fabulous, but they're here not to learn how to be sysadmins, and you faculty are here not to do system administration. That's not why Stanford hired you. You want to do your research, and you want your graduate students to be trained and do research for you and with you, not run servers. We have not quite a stable, but we have a set of professional HPC system administrators who can help run your servers. You don't have to use us. You may choose to contract out your system administration to some external party. You may choose to have your graduate student run your servers. There are no edicts, you can do what you want, or you may run them yourselves. No lie, we have an H&S faculty member who is fabulously wonderful researcher, and he also knows probably as much about clusters and servers as any of us do. And we found him one day in the data center in Forsyth, sitting on the floor, reconfiguring his server by himself. And great, that's wonderful. If that's what you love and that's what knocks your socks off, you can run it yourself or have your students run it. You can contract with us. Depending on the kind of server it is, we mostly run Linux servers. So if you have Windows servers that you need help with, there's another group within University IT that does Windows system administration as well, and Barbara and the H&S IT team leverage them quite often. But we really want to do what we can to help you guys be as efficient as possible and get as much as you can, as much mileage as you can out of these data resources, your codes, your servers, and let you do the science, the social science, the humanities, real scholarly work, and we take care of things in the background. So we have a number of private research clusters that belong to an individual faculty member or a lab group that they contract with us to run those clusters for them. This is Atul Butte from pediatrics and systems biology at Stanford. He's a wonderful example of what we see across departments, disciplines, domains at Stanford. He does some computing on his desktops. He has a bunch of servers in the data center, and he also uses AWS tremendously. So his workflow and his needs span all sorts of resources. And if that's the case for you as well, we can help you all along the way. Try to figure out, how do I go from my desktop to a cluster? I run my R job here on my desktop. Wow, on the cluster I can run 200 of them at once. Or you help me parallelize it, so instead of taking 2 days, it takes 2 hours to run this. Ooh, but what if I could run 20,000 at one time? The cloud might be the good answer for you for that particular scenario, and we'll help you get going there. Atul Butte, of course, is leaving Stanford now, but in a month. But right now he's still one of ours, so we'll keep his picture up there. I mentioned earlier that we also provide system administration for the Hive, and I included this here mostly just to remind me to talk about that, because if you're not aware of the Hive, it's like the highly immersive visualization environment. It's this giant set of 35 high-definition displays with associated systems behind them for really high-resolution visualization. It was funded, the Hive was funded by the Army High Performance Research Computing Center, and we run their equipment too, and ICME, and Dean of Engineering, with large contributions from SAP, the company SAP. But it is a resource that I would encourage you to check out, because it's great to have results and analysis and all, but darn, sometimes it's just better to look at your data or to look at the image you created, and you can do that right there on your 14-inch or 20-inch screen. But what if you could do it on 35 screens at once? So please check out the Hive if you haven't already. No charges to use the Hive. Just have to schedule it. So you may have your own servers sitting here, sitting in a closet under your desk. Maybe we can help you move those to a managed data center. You may have a student or us or somebody else running those servers for you. But if you don't have servers or don't have a compelling need to have your own server, we have shared campus resources for computing and running research codes that you might be using now or you might be interested in using. Some of you guys who have been here a while are familiar, no doubt, with the farm share machines. These are the corns and the barleys. You know, everything's got to have a little theme there. So the farm shares are servers, a small set of servers that sit in the data center. Like everything in the data center, you don't go there and sit down and log in. You work remotely, you connect to these servers, and these are the servers that replaced some of the computing clusters that used to be in labs around the campus. So rather than everybody walking into a lab and sitting down to compute, move the compute elsewhere, free up space, connect remotely, log in remotely. They are largely intended for instructional use. So every quarter we have graduate students or faculty contact us. I'm teaching Engineering 252. Do you have ANSYS available? And if we don't have the software, if it's free, we'll install it for you. If it's not free, depending on the software, either you pay for it or we might be able to help fund it if it's something that is broadly used in FarmShare. But it's not just for instruction, because researchers who come, especially new researchers without grant funding, or they just have a proof of concept idea and they want to try something out, FarmShare has been a good environment for folks just to, let me try this and see what happens. Sort of an initial step. We see it as sort of a stepping stone to larger compute resources like Sherlock. Again, as I mentioned before, all of the servers we run in a shared server environment are running Linux. And I know lots of folks who haven't worked on computing clusters before are used to running on a Mac or a Windows box. We have folks who can help you get going. There's a learning curve, but we're trying to minimize that pain in shifting your work to a new environment. FarmShare is available to anyone who has a sponsored SUNET ID. Every student can log into Stanford. Every faculty member, to FarmShare. Every faculty member can. Every staff member can. So it's really a wonderful resource for, oh, let me just go try it. You don't have to apply to get an account. You just log in with your SUNET ID and off you go. Because information security is a concern to you all as well as to the university at large, and FarmShare, everyone who has a SUNET ID can log in, it is a wonderful vector for bad things to happen. If your account gets compromised, your SUNET ID account gets compromised, well, people could go to FarmShare and launch all sorts of interesting and potentially bad things. So we will be adding two-factor authentication to FarmShare soon. Same way you log into Access or any of the web resources at Stanford, you get your little Duo code and log in. And we run the FarmShare servers. There's no cost to you for using FarmShare. Beyond FarmShare, as of about a year ago, Sherlock is almost a year old now, the provost funded a larger compute environment for research. And that cluster, instead of carrying on the corns, the barleys, the rye, the wheats, all these things, okay, we're going to start anew with Sherlock, like Sherlock Holmes, searching for answers and looking for clues and finding a resolution by the end of that 60 minutes. So this is really a resource for research. It's not where your students go to run MATLAB for homework tonight. Unlike FarmShare that's open to everyone, Sherlock is open to faculty. And faculty can then request accounts for their research teams. Random student, and we love students, who has some cool new thing to try, can do that on the FarmShare or can get his or her faculty member to say, oh yeah, that would be a good use of the provost's resources to advance research at Stanford and get an account. Sherlock had, at its inception a year ago, we had about, and this is on your little cheat sheet, about 127 servers. That's a lot of servers, considering the capabilities of these servers. 16 cores, high-powered servers with great networking and storage and really fast. The provost funded those, but he did so for research, not for, wow, Ruth wonders what might happen if she tries this. That's interesting, but he doesn't need to pay for that. And it's really to provide a base environment where any research can start out. But that 127 servers, and we've got how many faculty here? A couple thousand, not all of whom use computers in this way, and their graduate teams. These are shared resources. So sometimes when you want to run a job, somebody else is running and you've got to wait. So there can be delays. Not excessive, less than 2 days, usually within an hour or two. But if you and your research team want dedicated resources for you guys, you can become an owner on Sherlock, buy more servers, add them to the pool, and this is actually Sherlock. This is Tom Abel, you may know from physics and astrophysics here, H&S faculty member who has bought in, become a Sherlock owner in a big way. Tom Abel and Todd Martinez and Jens Norskopf from engineering, Margot Gerritsen, no, not Margot Gerritsen, Tom Devereaux from SLAC. The four of them, just those four people, they're committed to adding at least $1 million worth of equipment to Sherlock every year, which is fabulous and wonderful. They bought what, 151 servers late last fall. They're putting in another order now. And one of the advantages of being an owner is you get to use what you bought whenever you want. But you know what? If you're not using your stuff, and really, how many of us really run 7x24x365? There's some idle time. Other owners can use your resources when you're not, and you can use theirs. So we're growing the owner pool. Phil manages all of the details of purchasing this, that, and the other. That may or may not be of interest to you, but if it is, before you decide to buy, try. Try before you buy. We'll help you get going because, again, any faculty member and or her graduate students or undergraduate students or research staff, PI just has to sponsor them, can get on. There's no charge at all to use what the provost paid for, and there's storage space associated with that as well. If you want to add on, your cost is the cost of that new server. The Dean of Research and the Provost and Bill Klepsch from IT, they're paying us to do the system administration. So you don't have to pay a grad student, you don't have to pay us. You want to run your own little servers, not part of this, and have them professionally sysadmin, you're going to have to pay somebody or have your grad student do it. So lots of options. Some of you who have been here a few years may know the ProClus shared cluster, which H&S purchased 3 years ago. Useful lifespan for these servers is usually 3 to 4 years. Because the new data center was still just an idea, it was a plan, but it wasn't there. And so H&S IT in Dean's office really responded in a big way 3 years ago and said, until we have this and the data center, we're going to invest. And some of you guys have been using ProClus for the last couple of years. We'll fold in those resources until they age out into Sherlock. But sort of going forward, we're calling that shared environment Sherlock. So in addition to servers and stuff, maybe what you need really is somebody to sit down with you and help you get going or answer your questions. VJoy does a lot of that now, we know, as part of the ACS program, working with H&S faculty, and there are others who do the same thing. We will try to complement what he's doing, but add expertise in different levels as well. We're working with a number of research groups on compliance, whether it's HIPAA compliance, FSMA compliance. Beyond FSMA, if you have a contract with the Veterans Administration, oh my goodness, they make every other compliance standard look like child's play. So the VA We can help you if you're running codes and you're using the Intel compilers, or you want to do some optimization of your codes with specific tools like MKL. We can help you with that. We can help you get going. Suppose Sherlock is just too small potatoes for you. You need some really big iron. Or you've got some wild idea you want to try. What if I could do this on 10,000 servers at once? AWS might be an option, but there are also some big honkin' 10 to 100,000 core clusters funded by the National Science Foundation. The program's called Exceed. We can help you get going on that, or the Open Science Grid, which is similar but different. And if you're interested, we can talk to you about that. We have other performance tools for your codes that we can do. And we can also, again, because of Mark Piercy, who is going to stand up and say hi to you, or wave to you anyway now, so he's captured on film. Again, Phil mentioned earlier, and as did I, Mark joins Research Computing and H&S IT next Monday. And he's been at Stanford for a while, a few years. He's worked with different research teams lately, most lately in H&S, Vijay Pandey's team, but other researchers in School of Medicine. He's very familiar with Stanford. He has used shared cluster resources. He has a wealth of experience to bring, and he'll be working with you all to help get you going, answer your questions, and figure out, is this the right solution? Is that the right solution? Or maybe we need something new. And then ICME, also, we partner very closely with ICME, which is the Institute for Computational and Mathematical Engineering. You probably already know that. It is one of the probably the primary degree granting programs for computational science at Stanford. They have certificates and programs across many disciplines, but we do a lot with ICME also to help support and answer your questions. And that brings us to proposals and partnerships. We're not here to tell you how to do anything. We want to provide you options, and should you choose those, help you leverage those most effectively. And to do that, we really try to partner with folks. We partnered with Barbara on the joint hire of Mark Piercy. We've partnered with ICME on training programs, and they also fund a staff member on my team. We can help you with proposals, again, not just boilerplate, but actually technical specifications. This is Todd Martinez from the chemistry department. I think this is, I'm not sure how old that picture is, but he looks more or less the same even now. And we worked with Todd, Vijay Pandey, Tom Abel, so 3 H&S faculty, and Margot Gerritsen from ICME on a National Science Foundation proposal. It's through their major research instrumentation. It's a 3-year, $5 million proposal, and it was successful. So partnering with them, providing a lot of the background material and support for the cyber infrastructure, in 2 weeks, we will take delivery on a major new compute resource, another big cluster, but instead of having this cluster like Sherlock be more about the memory and the compute cores, the servers, it's more about the accelerators, the GPUs, if you're familiar with GPU technology. If not, we'll have a class on that you can learn about. So this will be a really unique resource for Stanford, and also actually for the national community. A portion of the cycles from this will be allocated through the National Science Foundation to other researchers. So we can help you with proposals, or again, new and different ideas. We're working with the Stanford Center for Genomics and Personalized Medicine, which is quite a mouthful. We just call them SCG. This is Mike Snyder and Carlos Bustamante and team. And Stanford Hospitals on piloting some new workflows and infrastructure, secured infrastructure for genome analyses, especially of clinical data. So again, back to security and compliance. We have worked the last 9 to 10 months with faculty from the Stanford Neurosciences Institute, many of whom are also H&S faculty, to put together a new virtualized open source based compute environment for their work. We're going to try this for 6 months, and if it's successful, think about how we might expand it. And that kind of environment might be of real use to a lot of the social scientists and humanists potentially who are more comfortable with, or their current workflow is really data analytics and looking at data, working. You don't, like clusters, you write your code and you submit it and it comes back and says, here's your answer, 24. Okay? If the way you work is to load IPython or R or Stata or whatever, and you do something and then you look at the result, then you type a few more commands, you're really working with the codes and the data all the time. Then that virtualized environment where you're going to have a GUI graphical interface to your software may be something of interest to you. And it's really an exciting project. We have learned a lot in the last 9 months. If we expand this, boy, will we do some things differently. But again, it's an example of the partnership. They said, hey, we'd really like to, can you help us? And we have done that. So that's pretty exciting. We also offer, often with ICME, but not always, training and learning opportunities on new tools, new codes, cloud computing, GPU computing, in-memory database analytics, like Spark or SAP HANA, things like that. So this is just sort of the John Hennessy, here's what Stanford is all about. I mean, Stanford is a fabulously wonderful place. And you guys are the ones who are doing the core mission work of Stanford. And we want to be partners with you and service providers for you to help you get to solution faster, to explore your data in ways that you never knew you could, and to keep doing what you've been doing, which is changing the world in wonderful and exciting ways. So we are happy to take any questions, comments, suggestions, ideas now, or you can always email us. We both have very easy email addresses. Research computing support, like the rest of the team, the email to reach us is like this long. Once you get an account, you'll see it and just click a link, but these are probably easier to reach us.